6 in the morning, another day begins. Concrete dust on my clothes, tired eyes again. Classroom to the job site, trying to make ends meet. Another week disappears underneath my feet.
Everybody's moving, but nobody knows why. Chasing little pieces of a life passing by. I put my headphones on and hear familiar voices. TGS reminds me that I still have choices.
When I close my eyes, I hear a voice calling. Through the darkness, through the memories falling.
There's a world waiting somewhere beyond the night.
And if these dreams are fading, I'll bring them back to life. I'm the first player, calling through the night, running through the memories, searching for the light.
If you forgot the person you were meant to be, I'll find your younger self and bring you back to me.
When the world says grow up, let your dreams fade away, we'll hold on to the magic that brought us here today.
We don't need a
Perfect world to make it through, as long as there's a player still dreaming with you.
Oh my God! What the hell happened? You were not supposed to see that. Oh my God!
It looks cool.
Oh my God!
It looks
The
cool.
bosses are gonna freak. Marvel's gonna tan our hides for that stunt right there. You're not supposed to see that, guys. Anyway, welcome to the Timeless Gamer Show, where our bodies and our games may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain timeless. And this is a very special episode that we have for you for tonight. Okay, two former Sega employees will gonna be joining us for this episode. We're gonna have a sit down interview with them. All right, talking about their former glory days back in Sega and what they're doing as of the present, and anything about the gaming industry from then and now. Alrighty. Joining us for this episode, our co-panelist right here, we got Sir Danger Dan from Britain right here. Sir Dan.
Hello, everybody. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Short and sweet.
That was it. Okay, short and sweet. Yeah, straight to the point. Yeah.
And here's Sir Joel, of course.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. This is Joel here on the Timeless Gamer Show. And yes, you were not meant to see that just yet, but we're showing it anyway. And as a heads up, the music track of that trailer is also available on all major platforms as we speak right now. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music. You might want to download that, listen to it. Really, really good song, banger of a hit in the future. And yeah, the trailer is pointing to something that we are doing as a thank you to all of you, our audience. Back to you, Joe.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Joel. Speaking of the soundtrack, here's the man responsible for the soundtrack. Sir Juan.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in today. As Joel was saying, yes, the track is on all platforms as of today. You guys go, take a listen. Tell us what you think. And yes, like Joel said, there's something in the making. So hopefully you guys are ready for that.
All right,
Back
thank
to
you
you,
for
my
that.
friend.
Thank you for that, Sir Juan. Alrighty, so let's just get on to it, gentlemen. So introducing our guests for tonight, we have Sir Erik Wahlberg and Sir Ed Annunziata. Here we go, guys. Yay!
What's up, guys? How's it going?
All right.
Hey. See you,
Okay. All right. So, Eric, we leave the introduction of Ed to you first.
I'm having a
Tell us a
technical
little bit.
problem here.
Oh, technical problem. That's perfectly fine. All right. Well, let's start with a little bit of intro from Eric.
Yeah, I'd love to. So Ed Annunziata, back in the early 90s, when I first met him, I believe I was doing QA for, what was the robot, Rise of the Robots? Was that the one you're working on, Ed, back in the 90s? That was your game, right?
Oop.
Oh, lost it.
Oh, we have a little bit of a
Second.
yeah.
Good thing
He's
Again,
trying to fix his camera.
no problem. No problem.
How about just you, Sir Eric?
Sure. Yeah, so well, I'll introduce myself for him.
Yes, you
Oh,
start off with a little bit of a background on yourself first, Eric.
Sure.
on yourself. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, industry veteran. I've been around since the days of Sega. I was in QA, working with to producer, and did some design work. Mostly on Eternal Champions for the Sega CD with Mike Latham, my mentor, who got me into the business. Since then, I was at Electronic Arts. I was lead designer on Knockout Kings 2000, 2001. Then I moved around to a few different studios and came back to EA as well. I worked on casual games for a decade. Worked on a couple MMOs, including Marvel Heroes at Gazillion, where I reconnected with Ed Annunziata, who you're going to meet in a second. And then since then, a few other companies. The biggest one of note was recently I was at Zynga for a few years. And I've been doing a lot of production and design since, again, 1993, I believe it's early 1993. But now I want to introduce, if I can, Ed. Is a good time to segue?
Oh, he just resetted his phone again. So
Well, while we're doing that, Dan, hello. Good to see you.
Hello, Eric. Great to see you, mate.
Yeah, you too. I mean, Dan, you're the first person I think I connected with all this stuff back in the day, right?
Yes, mate.
Yeah.
You did a great little interview for the Sega Mega Masters, which should be coming back soon. Now I'm on top of my health issues, so very nice to see you, mate. Obviously, we've stayed in touch via Facebook now and again, but yeah, good to see you back in the flesh, sir.
You just gave me the best news ever that your health is turning around. That's wonderful, brother.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, get like it's just one of them things, isn't it, mate? You know, but health's important, so it's good to be back.
Yeah, that's great. So now I guess I'll go back to Ed. So Ed,
Hey.
Ed, what was a robot game? It's not Rise of the Robots. It was something else that you were working on in the 90s. What was that?
Cyborg Justice.
Thank you. I knew as soon as I said it that it was not that game. So I first met Ed when I was doing QA for Cyborg Justice, and he came by and asked my opinion on the game. And what I do remember is whatever my feedback was something that's completely inappropriate for how far along they were. I think they're like deep in debate at this point. And it was something like, can you make them bigger? Right. So, but that was my first connection with him. And with Ed, what was cool is the QA team, which, you know, I think our biggest were probably 200 plus people. Everybody wanted to work for Ed. It was like he would walk in and it was like a celebrity walked into the room and he's just checking in on one of his games. And you know, because oh gosh. So Ed, rather than tell you the whole story of how I met Ed, more so let me introduce him. So Ed, again, I don't know actually what you did before Sega, Ed, so you can tell me or tell them, but met him at Sega when he was a producer already and already making kick-ass games, as you guys will all know if you don't know already. Echo the Dolphins, probably his biggest claim to fame so far as recognition, and that was something that everybody also loved in QA. And then since then, he had worked on plenty of Saturn games, Mr. Bones, which is very innovative, Three Dirty Dwarves, which is cool and crazy, and all kinds of stuff after that. He's had his own company for about 25 years. As he mentioned, for legal reasons, kind of shifting names over the years, but it's kind of the same core group, doing a lot of really cool stuff. And most of all, I want to introduce you guys because he is one of the coolest legends you're ever going to meet in the industry, because the guy is he's very humble and he's very kind and he's incredibly creative and really fun to be with. So Ed Annunziata, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Hello, Sir Ed. It's very, very nice to meet you, and welcome to the Timeless Gamer Show podcast. We're very, very happy to have you here, and we're very, very thrilled that Eric has made the introduction to you. So, I might as well toss in the first question to you then. Echo the Dolphin. It is considered as one of the most, one of the foundational games in consoles that are enigmatic, something that is a little bit hard to get into in terms of mental frame for people during that time. But as they get into it, they realize how deep it is. They realize that, well, you know, play on words because it's in the ocean. But yes, they realize how good of a game it is. So it's a really, really good intro for people. It as a backgrounder, some people are weaned on the games like that are enigmatic as well, like Uru or Mist or something like that. I kind of classify Echo in that same vein. So my question to you is, when you develop that, what actually, it's more of a comparison from back then to now.
Hmm.
Uh, do you think that the atmosphere of today will lend itself to the how you developed the game back then because of how mysterious or deep it is in terms of thought nowadays, when you compare it to the games of today, would a game like this fly, or would a game like this be allowed to be developed?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, my instant response is the answer is absolutely not,
Hmm.
because I've encountered 1 million no's
Hmm.
to every maybe I ever got.
Hmm.
So no one would let me build this game. Still, people are trying to stop me from remastering this game as we speak. So
Just do
it's
it.
always a challenge.
Well, now that you mentioned that, you
Well,
did
what do
mention.
you think though? Do you think a
Hmm.
game like this just dropped?
Hmm.
Maybe with some graphical enhancements, but it just dropped here in 2026
Hmm.
on Steam. Do you think it would get any attention?
Personally, I think the gaming market is large enough that this will have an audience. Honestly, there's a lot of people who love this type of game, who love the kind of game that challenges somebody to think laterally.
Mm.
The game that will allow you to not just run down a corridor and blast aliens left and right. A game like this that forces you to think from a point of view that is not your usual bailiwick, shall we say.
Huh.
I think, yes,
Great
I
word.
think this has a really strong chance of penetrating the market in a way that people will say, huh, I didn't know this was possible. And when they look at its history of its having come out in the 90s, I didn't know something this amazing was available back then. Also, I should delve into the back catalog. So now that you mentioned the remaster of Echo the Dolphin 1, you did
Mm.
mention that you're encountering a lot of pushback on that. Uh, uh, does it feel like the same type of pushback that you felt back then when you were initially developing the game?
Wow, man, that's a really good question.
Hmm.
So I don't want to be too pessimistic on the pushback thing.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't want to get too comfortable.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just, it, I think I'm going to answer a question you didn't even ask.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
So it's difficult, like when you see it clearly in your head, and then you go to another human and try to have them see it as clearly in their heads, and that's where the rubber meets the road. Because if I'm describing to you how Echo moves, how gravity turns into buoyancy when you interact with the surface, how the character feels, how the story is set up to surprise you or really just F you over and make you think it's one thing and it become another. Um, those are all things that are impossible to communicate effectively until it exists. So without time travel, you can't really, or when you have a new concept, it gets very difficult to say. It's like the Wizard of Oz meets um, Harry Met Sally.
Hmm.
So when you don't have that little thing where you could put two known things together, then you're on your own, and so it becomes very difficult to sort of convey. Like I'm almost certain that when I was trying to convince Tom Kalinske, who was the president of Sega of America at the time, let me build this dolphin game. It's like, who wants to be a dolphin? And but if I had said the right words and I've conveyed like if he saw what I was seeing right then, he'd be like, "How much you need?"
Hmm.
And so the failure is in me, and then this whole thing about dealing with a barrage of no, of rejection. This is just life and entropy. This is just normal business. I didn't mean to come off like I'm like, I have bad luck, but yet I
Hmm.
overcome it. It's just entropy is normal, miscommunications are normal. So if it was easy, anybody would do it.
Which brings me to ask Eric. Do you feel the same way, Eric? The fact that there's a you friction and entropy, shall we say, is something that is part and parcel of the dev experience. Mhm.
Yeah, well, so at least I want to speak to something that Ed just mentioned because it totally resonates with me. Is your ability to be a good creator is going to be tied very much to your ability to pitch that idea, whether it be to the CEO or somebody else in marketing. Some people are going to greenlight it stakeholders because quite often,
Or on the team.
yeah, or on your team to get them motivated to want to do it. Yes, all that, and that's a combination probably of helping to have a shared vision and also motivate them, right, Ed?
Mhm.
And then also it could be to the nuance where if you're working with people that are somehow interacting or developing the game, but they really don't get it, you also have to just make sure they understand what the hell you're talking about if they're not into it. More recently, I would mention when I worked at Zynga, I would work with a team who really weren't gamers, even for a lot of the games that we were working on. They were more of data analysts and more ultra casuals. So I had to really put extra effort into presenting, this is what the game is. This is why it's fun. These are the important moments, and these are how we should probably implement it. And so to go all the way back to the pitch that Ed had mentioned with Tom, so important because a lot of good ideas will never go anywhere if you can't pitch it properly or position yourself so that they go, oh, this makes monetary sense for us to do this, right? Because everything costs money. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does actually, and which leads me to the next question. I hope you guys don't mind that I'm hogging the first few questions. Joe
I'm
and
good. I'm
Dan
good. I'm
and
good.
I'll
Go
go
on.
away.
all right. So yeah, Tom Kalinske. We'd love to have him on the show sometime in the near future. If you guys can facilitate that, that would be wonderful. We'd love to pick his brains. But yes, one thing which brings us to the question of the how things are now, which is a tremendous way of segueing, Eric. The marketing, the way that things were back then. I imagine you, Ed, and Eric, you pitch an idea. The producer hears it, sees it, listens to it. You communicate how it should look like in your mind, going to the guy. Is this something in modern day that you guys also go through, or is it dictated by marketing or the guys who will be doing the whole thing, which will be presenting the entire thing to the audience? Is it something that you work as a concept from you first, or is it something that somebody comes up with later, throws to you guys, and because of the fact that they think this will sell?
The
I'd
marketing,
like
you
to
mean?
ask Ed. Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's always different. It's not there. I mean, with marketing. I learn a lot about marketing because I suck at it so much. So I try to pay attention to it, and there are best practices for everything. So for publishing, not just marketing, like everything you need to do from press releases to the right kind of beta testing, etc. And since there's this list of best practices exist, we us dev people could navigate those waters. But I noticed that it's always different every game with every team, and it depends where the basic creative force is coming from. Like if it's an existing IP, it's the people who own and control that IP have editorial control that goes all the way through to the marketing and development. But if the IP is like owned spiritually by the dev team, the marketing is completely different. It's done mechanically completely differently. The other thing I notice is when we make a game, we have an idea. 3 years later, maybe you get to play it. So there's market sensibilities today when I have the idea for the game, and then 3 years later, market sensibilities are completely different.
Yeah.
And so what I do is just do like what's inspired. What inspires me, I use myself as like a little like a Geiger counter. If it's very inspired, I do it. Not because I think it's going to sell. It's just that I know if it does sell, if people like it, if they buy it, it's because it's inspired. So I just make sure everything's inspired and then hope for the best, because there's no way to predict. And anybody who really does it right, if you get anything right, you're lucky. So the important thing is just to keep trying and keep learning and not like bake in, like old people like us boomers, like we want to talk about the good old back when I was a kid.
I've caught myself saying that a lot of the times nowadays. Yeah.
I hate that. Boomers, stop doing that. Nobody cares, because it's today, right now. At the beginning of this podcast, it was one way. Now it's different. That's how fast everything is changing. So we got to pay attention. So that's marketing.
Sorry, mate. Yeah. So, what? Just a few things. I mean, you've said quite a lot of things there that have got me brain. No, it's brilliant, mate. It's great. It's great to hear it. I kind of want to make you aware of how big a deal. I don't know if you are aware, but in Britain, Echo was massive. Echo was I've just uploaded some screens if Sir Joe can bring them up, but it got deemed as Game of the Year by the biggest British magazine. And
no way.
They actually had Streets of Rage 2 feature in this magazine, and they ignored it for the front cover. They featured Echo instead.
Wow.
And if you have a little read, that they give it 97% out of 100, and down in the bottom it basically says with that 97%, it's the best. It's potential for the best game ever. So
how did I miss this article?
Exactly myself. What you're saying about inspiration and originality, this was a massive deal because of that originality. It stood out so much, and whereas a lot of people, like Sir Joe was saying, they couldn't understand it and they couldn't get into it.
They didn't know what to do.
It seemed to land. It seemed to land with us lot over here. Maybe because I don't know. I think a lot of British people, we had a bigger home computer market here, so we were more used to that kind of puzzly, thought-based approach to things, and it was a really big deal. So it's with you saying, would it land today? Globally, that's a different story. But I think it's an established franchise where we are on these aisles, mate.
Yeah. Well, good. I hope to take advantage of that.
Good lad.
Well, I would say it's because of the fact that it does land better for cerebral gamers, people who like to use their noggin in going through the game. Which,
God bless them.
Very good. Now that same question to Eric. I'm sorry if I'm reiterating the question. Would you agree that nowadays that would be the way to go in terms of developing? Is it a combination of marketing and you? Is it just you and hoping the marketing gets the idea, or how would you go about it, Erik?
Well, I think like a lot of things, there's many ways to be successful and many ways to fail. But the interaction, the experience, I think that Ed mentioned does resonate again. So when I worked on, say, Knockout Kings, which is a boxing game, or real recently on a Game of Thrones game, the marketing team kind of already knew what they wanted. And my job was just to make sure they knew what all the key features that were probably worth marketing to tie into what that IP is. And so there wasn't a whole lot of need for that. I was fortunate enough to do a lot of press tours for Sega and Sega Soft for probably 2 or maybe 3 years. And that allowed me to also see the reactions live to people that would kind of respond to marketing, albeit press, but very similar. And so in that case, there are some times when internal IP, as Ed said, first came up with what I know about was Flesh Feast. And that one had a great marketing campaign. And that Greg Shamingo was our marketing guy. And we laid out what the game was and kind of what the spirit was behind it. And again, it failed, but the goals were met where they had a super gross poster of the game, which I think you guys maybe put up one time when we talked about this a couple of years ago, with a bunch of zombies and a guy with a chainsaw meat hanging off it, like front and center. They sent these severed arms in boxes to the press of the game to play. And that we had even worked on the name of our multiplayer, where you could play, one person plays the heroes and the person plays the zombies. And I coined this phrase, but not that it matters, called the Eat Your Friends Death Match. And so it was kind of like, that was where it's very collaborative with like, okay. And also lastly was, although the game itself looked like a bad 32-bit game visually, we had some really gross cinematics in it, with, you know, a zombie eating brains and all kinds of gross stuff. And so we leaned into that aspect of it. It's just like, it's so gory and it's so crazy and it's, you know, blah, blah, blah. So that was where we teamed up with marketing as opposed to marketing dictating. And I think the one way I slightly divert from Ed in that I just try and always make sure the marketing is as dialed in as possible, because that just makes everything a lot easier so far as getting funding, so far as getting support, so far as getting marketing dollars, all that. But, you know, again, Ed's been more successful than me. And so I think in a lot of ways, his approach is probably the more common and probably better way to go. But to reiterate, I think it just depends on the property and and to Ed's point, who you're working with on what.
Speaking of work, I want to jump off script here a little bit, because our dev here, Mark, posted an incredibly relevant question for both devs. This question is coming from a junior dev. Right now, he's our dev, and he wants to ask two industry veterans, how do you stay inspired when you've been working on the same game for a long time and the initial excitement starts to fade? Let's start with Ed.
Yeah. So, the excitement just doesn't fade for me. It turns into an obsession, and releasing a game is like a mental event to that releases you. It's like you got to keep going until it's done, and then when it's done, and that's I don't get writer's block, and I don't get bored with my games. I get obsessed, and I get more maniacal as we get closer to the end.
How about you, Erik?
And just how Ed just said it, like that's my mental process, you know, on the thing that we're working on. You know, I'm making the music, so I'm constantly inspired. And then how these guys are, you know, talking about scenarios and chapters and what the game's going to be about. I have so many ideas when it comes to making music, and I'm not going to be done. So what you just said, Ed, is like how my mental capacity is. I'm always going to have
I
just
think
that
that's
drive.
called when you're fully leaned in. That's the zone.
Well, how about you, Erik? Would you agree?
I've been tired of this shit for years. No, completely agree with Ed. Like I think that especially if you're going to be in the industry for a long time, you probably have something inside you, and even to what Juan's saying is, if you're just super driven, your passion will just carry you through. And when, for example, I'm working on, you know, Eternal CD, we work to the very end, many long hours, because like, oh, just fix this combo, fix that character, fix this thing, make this thing a little bit better, tweak that tournament. Because, you know, at the end of the day, and this is where it's more personal for me, I very much value how this makes people happy. I very much value that if I can get somebody who pays the 50 or 60 bucks, buys the game, plays the game, and goes, oh man, that was so worth it. I'm so happy that I did it. Great, because now my work was not moving boxes or you know, checking boxes in some spreadsheet. I actually did something to make people happy. So at the same time, like, this is for all the people that are going to play this game, right? So I still, I mean, just like Ed, we both love making games and we love the creative. And I think one bit I would add is that mostly Ed, but also many times I've had the opportunity, when you're kind of the visionary and the designer, you have a lot more control over that. It's probably harder to stay passionate if you only have a small aspect of it. One bit I'll add is that one of the companies I worked at, I was a content designer. And that meant basically I was working on some missions, but I didn't have any control over the game system, how the combat worked, many other aspects. It was one aspect of it. And I wasn't as inspired because I could only control one part. And so that I think
you're a hired gun.
Yeah. When you're more of the overseer, the visionary, and hopefully the lead designer, that allows you to kind of see that to the end, and it's easier to be more passionate. It's harder when you just have this small, tiny piece of it. Depending on what it is. Juan's is different. Nobody's going to mess with his music. It's all him. And so that would be different, right? Where, again, if you're working on one aspect of it, it's hard to be as passionate. But to Ed's point, like, I think he and I and a lot of people are really going to be in the industry for a long time. They have this weird thing in them where they always want to make games, always want to create.
All right, magnificent.
And I'm with you on that one too. Like I'm always wanting to create something. Like always, I always have ideas. You know, like when we branched off and started our wrestling podcast. Me being me, I literally made an entire soundtrack for it, just because that was just me being bored. But on the aspect of the game though, like I said, I mean, I have so many ideas, and right now I'm caught up to where I'm trying to focus on one big song that I'm trying to create with a couple of the guys too. So like, yeah, music is never going to get taken away at all. So I agree with you on that one, Eric.
And this is our music and sound designer here, Juan. Although I'd like to bring it back to Ed for a question. I noticed one thing, Ed, about your body of work. You do tend to take the road not taken, for Robert Frost, shall we say. And you do a lot of things like Dungeons and Dragons, or Eternal Sun, or Chakan, the Forever Man, Chakan, the Forever Man. Is there?
I just lost all audio.
Oh, you lost. Oh, there you go. So might be.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, sorry. Let us know if you hear anything.
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. All right. So
I don't hear. Who do I hear?
That's Eric. Eric, can you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
All right.
You can't hear Joel though.
No, I'm here,
can you hear me?
Eric.
Oh, there you are. Now I
Okay.
hear 'em.
So can you hear me now, Ed?
I can hear you, Joel. I saw Eric was trying to talk. I didn't hear anything he was saying.
I
you
can hear
can-
everybody.
This is so funny. So Ed, you can hear me, but they can't hear
can't
me.
hear
I know.
This is what happens when you start showing footage of Chakan, because his demonic powers are wrecking everything already.
Okay.
So
You know
I
what?
imagine.
You know
What's
what?
the question?
You know what? Let's remove
You can hear
Shotgun for
me,
now.
that's what-
Let's see what
Yeah,
happens.
good
Oh no! This is the show saying, "Shut
I
up,
don't hear
Joel.
anything.
Toss the question. Have somebody
Eric,
else
what
toss
was
the
the
question.
question?
Let's do that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dan. You toss the next question.
Well, quickly before I do that,
Oh,
I just
here.
want to point out we've just spoke about Eternal Champions with Erik, and I want to can you just bring up that review, please, Sir Joel? No. So again, just back to Britain, Sir Eric's game was a massive hit at 97% over here too. So again, back to that creativity thing, that inspiration that you both been putting into it, we felt it over here. So if you are remastering any games, make sure you include these aisles as a target for it for sure.
We definitely want to remaster that game.
Yeah. Can you
Yes.
guys hear us?
I mean, I think so. Just your games in general. One of the things being in the Sega group and being a Sega guy myself for years is the thing that gets talked about with both Eternal Champions, Echo, and Chakan is the difficulty. So Chakan is I've played through like over 600 16-bit games, played them on the hardest difficulty. Chakan is one of them. It took me years to beat. Literally
You beat it?
years to beat. Yeah, man. Because I didn't use cheats or save states or anything like that. I wanted to all these games. I wanted to beat them straight, so I could kind of get in your guys' heads of how you were designing these games. And Chakan's it's definitely in the top 5 hardest games I've ever played. Definitely.
Wow.
I think Echo's a bit misunderstood. I think it's hard, but I think people just don't give it. They don't quite let themselves get into the mindset of Echo. Once you've got yourselves into the mindset of Echo, I
It's
think
easier.
Yeah. There's some odd levels. The machine's a nightmare. That's that's a beast of a level. I think if with you remastering it, if you do remaster it, I think the one thing that always stands out for me with the game is that when you complete a puzzle section, if you fail it, you have to start that again, and that's the bit that ground me down. You see, but that's nothing compared to Chakan. Chakan's what you were smoking when you made Chakan. What you were the way you troll. It is genius the way you troll the player and take your typical formulaic jumps and platforming and twist it so you have to think so like laterally and differently is crazy. So I want to know how you went down that path. I'm assuming it was intentional, or were you just off your nut on drugs and thought you'd torture people?
Well, I don't remember what drugs I was taking at the time, but so
What was the game rating for Chakan?
yeah, they were that good. I didn't remember. Well, first, a lot of Chakan's difficulty comes from just sloppy design work, frankly. And if I could go back in time and tune every little thing, it would still be very, very difficult, but it would feel more fair. Difficulty is good, in my opinion. Challenge is good. The feeling when you get beat down again and again and again, but finally prevail, that feeling of finally prevailing is so strong. I will do anything to get it out of you. So that's a little over the top. Today, it's a lot easier to tune difficulty so that it's the right difficulty as opposed to the wrong difficulty, which is just it's difficult because it's poorly designed. So hopefully a new Chakan and a remaster of Chakan will be much smoother. So it's a mea culpa that 50% of the Chakan's difficulty is from the design, and 50% is intentional. Why it's intentional is what I really wanted to convey with this game was suffering. Like, if you really stop and think about the lore, like, it's a video game, it's a cartoony little character, and he chops up zombies. You don't take it seriously, but if you did for just a minute and thought about the situation that he's in and how relentless it is and how much suffering he does, I wanted to convey the suffering.
You definitely did that, mate.
That was me as a kid.
You definitely did that.
That was me as a kid playing Echo the Dolphin.
Yeah.
I think Echo's tough, but it's not. It's just a bit repetitive. That's the bit that grinds people down. It's just when you get to those puzzle sections, it's like, oh, I can't believe I failed. I can't believe I failed. But once they're not that actually hard to overcome, you've just got to kind of practice to get around it.
If you know what to do, it's way easier.
Yeah. Whereas Chakan, you even when you know what to do, even when you played that same level, like that lava level, second lava level, I played it. I must have played it like hundreds of times, and if I go back to it now, it will still take me like 20 times to get warmed up to that level where I can potentially beat it if I don't slip up. So you made us suffer. suffer.
You guys can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
I suffered playing Echo as a kid, but I understood it as I got older. Like, I played it again when I was older and finally understood it. But I mean, I have a question on that. Where was your mind at when you made Echo?
I had when I made it. So it's so funny because I've been in continuous making Echo forever, like never really started. It just my life just turned into it. So what was your question? What was going on?
What was your mindset?
What was your mindset when you made Echo? Like, how did the idea of Echo come to you?
Oh, so I used to make educational software. I love making educational games for kids. And so for years, way before I got a job at Sega, I was making educational games. And I got so lucky to get involved with this project called The Voyage of the Mimi, which was like a TV show, like a full season of a TV show, and a whole bunch of science-y computer games that went along with it. The Voyage of the Mimi was about this dude that had this schooner, and he had his grandson spend the summer on his boat with scientists studying sperm whales. So they spent the whole summer going around studying sperm whales, remembering what their tail patterns are so they could track them. They did all that kind of stuff. And I got to work on the games that went along with that show. The little boy was Ben Affleck at like 11. This is his first commercial role. I got to meet him. He was a little shit then, and I didn't really care. But he turned into Batman. Anyway, so I was like completely into the science of understanding, like straight up, this is an intelligent species on the Earth. Like we've been ignoring it or killing it for 1,000 years. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. It's like it's sentient and it has thoughts and it has culture, and it could see with sonar, and it could say what it sees to another whale. So if I say, this is what Erik Wahlberg looks like, and I go, woo, in your mind, an image of Erik appears. Imagine if we could communicate that way. So I was enthralled by just the whole sea mammal thing because of Voyage of the Mimi. But then at the same time, my passion was morphing from, sorry this is so long, but I got time to kill. So my passion was going more towards games and less towards educational games. Educational games were a bit annoying back then because there was this feeling like if it looked too good and if it was too, this is really true, if it was too fun or too animated, the subject matter experts, the educational people, would be like, that's no good. Make it look worse, but have better didactics, like better educational content that's boring as F, and less animation and engagement. And I was always like, Also, a budget for an educational game, even with a Disney license, was minuscule compared to games. So I started to get really gravitated towards games. And I was a programmer originally, so I understood all the components of it. Two smooth scrolling play fields, sprites, collision detection, separate little synthesizer chip. I knew the architecture basically. The only kind of game you really could make on a system like that is a side-scrolling game. So here's the moment. When I realized that a dolphin, which I picked the dolphin because it's closest to like being a person. Like, what's the human equivalent in the ocean? A dolphin. So I picked the dolphin, especially since it could be so acrobatic. And when I thought about the surface interaction, jumping in and out of the water, that sine wave, in a side scroll game, I'm like, I got it. I knew I had it. I didn't have the story. I didn't have the idea for puzzle elements or anything. Just that interaction, like, just lit me on fire. And then it just started from there. Ben Affleck created Echo the Dolphin indirectly.
Oh, wow. So now we can all spam a chat with him, telling him thank you for helping out, being a co-creator of Echo
We'll get
the
him on the
Dolphin.
show for you.
Thank you, Ben.
We'll get Affleck
Voyage of the
on show.
Mimi.
I want to.
How about you, Eric? Like, how was your
Yeah.
process, for Eternal Champions? Because I played that a lot with my brothers as a kid.
So I'm glad you brought it up. Because I try and make sure I'm really clear every time we do this. No stolen dollar here. So
I don't know if it's me.
Mike
Can you guys
Latham-
hear Eric?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
I've got you, mate. Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I don't want to have any stolen
Yeah, I
valor.
can't
here,
hear
so-
Eric. Here, let me jump out and jump back in.
Yeah,
See
okay,
if that
go
fixes
for it.
Okay,
All
cool.
right.
So I guess I was actually answering one, wasn't I? But to anyone in general, as well as the viewers. So Mike Latham wrote the design for the Genesis version 100%, and I was the game balancer, and I came in and did some QA on that one. So that was so much of Mike Latham and his team, of course, all the developers. And I tried to make it a little bit better. And so I was able to make it a little more balanced, which is literally why he gave me that
I
unique
lost his
title.
audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
got
anyway, and then Eternals for the Sega CD, that was a different one where Mike let me do a lot of design work. One was I said, okay, well, we need more of a competitive 1v1 experience and not just a lot of big, massive moves going back and forth. And so that he allowed me to create a combo system, which is very similar to Street Fighter, as well as a bunch of skill-based moves that did not use the meter. And so in this case, if you're still following me, I try to look at what are the things that the last game lacked that I think our players need. And that's what I tried to add to it, as well as my own specific skill set in that I designed the move set for, I think, 4 of the characters, the full sets for like Ramses and Shinwo and et cetera, because of my martial art background combined with the references we use for the fighting styles. Say, okay, here's a fighting style, here's a character, how can we make, what should be the light attack, what should be the jump medium attack, and make so that they are effective from a gameplay perspective and unique and fit the style. And so in that case, I had a lot of like missions as opposed to like inspirations. The inspirations might be sometimes, to Ed's point, and what it made me think of was a D&D module that I've been working on for a while. And there's a reason why I explain this, because it's exactly like the whole effect with the dolphin going in and out of the water. Like that was his like, oh, I want to do something like that, make a game out of this thing, right? So for the module I was doing, I said, I want to have an adventure where the characters they're toting their client inside of a coffin because he's dead. He needs to be raised from the dead. And they have this big coffin with chains around it. And they're going over a waterfall trying to escape some monster. And that was like the thing I was thinking of, was a bunch of adventurers hanging onto this big coffin going over a waterfall, and called Couriers of the Cursed Coffin. And like that was the start of it. And so then I built a module out of that. So that's very similar, where you have like, what's the really cool thing about it? And then you build a game around that. So that also happens too. So I think it depends every single time. In my case, it depends if I have a mission or if I have an inspiration and I have freedom, right?
What can I be heard?
Interesting.
Does
I mean, but
Ed hear me
when
now?
you said, I mean, you created the move
Okay.
set with your martial arts background. Like, how was it creating all, like, the move sets and everything for the game?
Super fun. So we had back then there's a line of videos called Panther Videos, and they had many different styles where they would teach you the very basics of it, not very well, but if you're like, oh, I want to do monkey kung fu, and you buy the VHS tape, and somehow you're going to become like freaking Splinter and then learn how to do it, right? But basically you use those time codes, and this is before we had access to motion capture. And so I would take the time code of this move and then map it to the attack. And you'd look at things like, okay, well, short attacks are fast, generally short range. And then the bigger, and you kind of tie all these things in, as well as knowing if there's gonna be combos, what would be good to segue into the next move as well. So it looks kind of cool. So as a martial artist, understanding the basics of a punch, a kick, and a left and a right, and how these things kind of weave together, so make it like, oh, this feels kind of authentic, and it feels like a fighting style, and not just another guy who punches and kicks. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a joke. It's like, hey, you know what? You ever remaster it or make another one? If you want like a street fight brawler, I'm your guy.
There you go.
Wonderful.
One thing though. Does Ed
grew up in the
already
streets,
hear
man.
me
So
now?
like, I mean, fighting style is different,
Okay.
compared to, a trained martial artist or a boxer, MMA fighter.
What
More
is
ruthless.
slam everyone on the concrete, right? That'll be the death blow.
Okay. Quick question.
Yeah,
Can
that
Ed
too.
hear me?
Hit him with a
Yes.
good solid
All
punch.
right,
very
good.
Just one punch.
Excellent, very good. So, I was starting off on this question a little bit earlier, Ed, and this applies to you also, Eric, because one thing I noticed about the two of you, and I guess say good
Now,
developers
is
in
audio
general, is
just
that they
now? I
they
don't hear
love.
Joel.
There you go. They love Sega developers in general love doing something that is again off the beaten track. Very Robert Frost. I wanted to ask Ed first about his experience in developing Dungeons and Dragons: Warriors of the Eternal Sun. um how how did it feel handling a property as large as Dungeons and Dragons during that era? You were handed, I'm not quite sure how the process was. You get a license, you get a concept to do a game, you do the game. Is that how it was, or was something as big as Dungeons and Dragons landing on your plate? This is what we'd like to happen, and then make it happen for us.
So, it was weird.
Mm,
It was Dungeons and Dragons,
mhm,
the Dungeons and Dragons. I saw it on the list,
mhm.
and I'm like, "Is that Dungeons and Dragons?" Because I knew what it was, but back then, it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons like it is now. It was like just little nerdy kids like me knew about it. No one else really knew about it, and it was a niche kind of tabletop RPG, right? And even video games, there's a tiny market. The comic book industry was huge compared to the video game industry. So that's how minuscule life was back then. So D&D wasn't really that big of a deal as, like John Madden was back then. That was an IP that had pulling power. Dungeons and Dragons really not that much. But when I saw it on the list, I got very excited, and I knew I had to be the producer on that, and I got really lucky. That was a 2-year project. That was my longest 16-bit development cycle, and it was glorious. I got a lot of good stories about that. So when you guys want to dedicate a podcast to Warriors of the
Oh,
Eternal
we'd
Sun, let me
we'd
know.
love to. Yeah, that game is tremendous. Which the reason I ask about it being off the wall is because of the fact that Dungeons and Dragons, that particular setting, the Hollow Earth setting, is very rarely discussed or played. Even Eric can attest to that. The Hollow Earth setting is very different. It's not Dragonlance. It's not Forgotten Realms. It's
Mhm.
something that is very rarely presented. So it's a
Hmm.
question of how is it something that you guys gravitate to? It's something is it something just because it's a little off the wall or weird or off the beaten path, is this something that you guys like to prioritize, or is this something that just happens? I mean, the question is for both you and Eric.
I'm not sure how to answer.
Hmm.
Let me
Well,
ask it
you did
again in a
say
different way.
you did say that it showed up on the list, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Did you have prerogative as to what the setting was, or or was it something
Oh,
that was
okay.
dictated to you?
Yeah. So the Hollow World, um, what do you call that? A campaign?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. All
it's a
right. So the
campaign
Setting,
Hollow
setting.
yeah.
World
Can't be a setting.
campaign was only written at the time. It wasn't, nobody knew about it. So I
Hmm.
knew it was coming. Um, I wanted Hollow World. In fact, that was the name of the title originally. It didn't turn into Warriors of the Eternal Sun until later. Hollow World, yeah, I picked it because I really wanted to work on. It was perfect because it was its own world. So it's like, oh, good, I could work with that. I could take over that whole world. Also, it's really a ripoff, not a ripoff, but I guess inspired maybe coincidentally by a Star Trek episode where the civilization was in a hollow world. And there was this one scene where this old man said, I climbed the highest mountain and I reached up and I touched the sky. And that's when Kirk figured out, oh, wait a minute, they're in a hollow world. So I love that when I was a kid. So when I learned about the hollow world, uh, that was like the angle I pushed for. But then I got to go to Gen Con in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. I can't remember where it is. And this is like the the convention for Dungeons and Dragons and all role-playing games, and they still have it every year now. And so I went there and got a bunch of D&D kids and played the module of Hollow World with them, and had a really colorful DM. Like Eric is a master DM.
Oh yeah, he
and
is,
then, so
definitely.
I was able to experience the Hollow World through the actual tabletop experience with a bunch of strangers who are all hardcore D&D nerds. So my experience of the Hollow World was excellent. And, that was enough inspiration to carry the game forward and get it going.
All right, Joe. Proposal: Hollow World episode, the Warriors of the Eternal Sun episode with Ed, sometime in the future. Book it. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Note
all right.
to self.
Yes, Ed.
I'm surprised that you didn't get involved with that being D&D, Eric, with that game. Were you not about at Sega at the time?
I was, the thing is, Ed was already so far past me so far as producing and making games, where I was in QA for the first year and a half I was there. Right. And then you get the Japanese ports then once you get promoted. And then almost for 2 years, I was all about Eternal Champions. And so, no, that was never an option for me. I didn't even know they were working on it until I saw it in QA. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. But no, it's no part. And it's interesting, too, how all these things fit. So because if I recall correctly, I might not, that the Hollow World was part of Mystaria, which was created, I think, for the expert rule set. That was like, yeah. And so that's because they had the basic, the expert, and the advanced D&D, and they wanted to kind of have different worlds for each one. So that's kind of why it existed, as far as I recall. So it's interesting, all these times kind of connect. And then, as you guys may or may not remember, the whole thing with Realms of Mystara, the Saturn game, and how we got sued by TSR because it sounds like Mystaria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's funny how that kind of came back. So my connection to D&D at Sega was accidentally almost naming our game after a setting in D&D and getting sued for it. So yeah, that's where I was with it. Yeah, that game was great though. That Ed was working on for sure. Super cool.
All right. So anybody want to toss in the next question?
Yeah, we got a question here coming again from Sir Marky Mark. It's a question for both Sir Erik and Sir Ed. Let's bring it up. It says, when you started developing games, did you notice that you started playing games differently? Instead of just playing, did you find yourself dissecting and studying the game? Because that's actually what's happening to me, Sir Mark. So that's the question, gentlemen. How about since we got Sir Erik now, let's go for Sir Erik first.
You go for it, Erik.
Sure. So, yeah, definitely. And I think that once you start making games, you're also always looking for that cool interface or that cool moment or the thing that inspires you for something else. And so think of like if you're a movie director or a writer, you watch a movie and you go, this inspires me for something else. And I'll stop so Ed can now talk. But basically, when I would run D&D adventures, when I would watch Clash of the Titans, or I would watch anything that was kind of semi-related to fantasy, I would always be gleaning some inspiration. Whereas maybe if you're just a gamer and you're not into like developing it, you might be like, oh, that was effing cool, and how do I beat it, right? So I think that when you start making them, you do start looking for inspiration. In some ways, you get to appreciate it more. And so, yeah, it was definitely something that, to answer his question, especially nowadays, I'm always looking at, how can I leverage this or get inspired by this, or just put it in my knowledge base of like things to do or not do. Because obviously you're like, this sucks, I don't want to do that, right? You also get inspired by what not to do.
I just want
same question for Sir Ed.
Sorry,
so question is
just on that. Have either of you thought about doing? You're on about doing modern games and remasters and that. Have either of you thought about doing a modern CRPG?
I've been asking directly Barry Dorf. Who does Barry Dorf work for, Eric? Hasbro or who owns Dungeons and Dragons? Is that
I believe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Watsy.
So
Mhm,
I've been
yeah.
asking if I could remaster. I would love to remaster. If you asked me this, I would love to remaster Warriors of the Eternal Sun.
Oh yes, that would be
Because
amazing. Yes.
I know it's a niche genre, but like you look at the Pathfinder games, and they're selling over 1 million units.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pathfinder's good. Yeah.
So there's definitely a market there for them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's Pathfinder games even out right now, right? I think like video game wise. I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Pathfinder games out. Yeah.
Right, you got Wrath of the Righteous and Kingmate. I've got 600 hours in Wrath of the
Oh my
Righteous.
goodness.
You know what I mean? So like there's an indie game come out that I'd highly recommend you to try, 'cause it's only a 20-hour game called Skald Against the Black Priory, and it's a real basic C64 style CRPG. But I'm pretty sure that sold 500,000 units. So and the production budget it must be pretty minimal as well. So I'm sure you two guys could cook up something like that, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe one day both Eric and I could do an original D&D RPG using contemporary game development sensibilities.
Sounds good. Heck, I mean, if we're doing remasters, might as well do Chakan in the Dark Souls engine or something like that. But
right?
Yeah, there you go. But
I'm not being funny. I think that'd be massive. I really do, because like what the Elden Ring sells, not like 50
Elden Ring,
million.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And Chakan is the original Dark Souls, isn't it? Really?
Pretty
I
much.
think so.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying
Pretty much.
Right.
Oh, although Ed hasn't had the chance to answer the question posed to Eric yet. Yes, the question was, yes.
Yes, I play games differently as a game dev. The minute I said to myself, "Hey, maybe I could make a game," I started playing games differently. So that was a great question by the dev that's on the screen there. Definitely, and I'm a programmer. I originated as a programmer. So the things I see usually are technical things like shaders. Like the first thing when I look at a game, instantly my brain looks for anything emissive, and then I see. That's where I look at.
Yeah, kind of like as a writer, you would see, oh my goodness, they should have written this a different way or something like that. When you see,
I don't. There's a thing I don't like about humans. I was going to say I don't like about myself. The thing I don't like about humans is this. I don't like that game because it's just this one little thing. Because there's 1 million games on Tinder. It's like,
what?
I don't like the game. I don't like this. So
there are games in Tinder too. Okay.
Swipe it.
Video games and Tinder. Go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hashtag that shit.
That's an episode too.
Games are too easily rejected because of petulance and impatience.
Oh,
there you go.
But see, I agree with that because I mean, there's games that I like that I play, and I'll see reviews and people trash the hell out of it. I like to be my own review on a game, regardless of what anybody has to say.
Yeah, I feel it. This is what I don't like about myself is that I'm like, and then I overcome that. I try to figure out what's good, what could I learn, and usually, you know what? Every game is good. Every single game is good. Even those shitty free-to-play games that Eric used to make. All games are good.
And yeah, actually, I think a nice kind of plus one to that is when I play these games, I've had to do so many different genres. Although my career is not that prolific, it's been probably one of the most varied in that, I figured out casual web games for females 35 and up, casino games, like what's cool about playing a slot game, fighting games, MMOs, blah, blah, blah. And so, especially the ones that are more obscure to me, what I do is my mission is I want to think like that player. Like, what is cool about a freaking slot machine game? Like, what is fun about it? And so I immersed myself in them. I played it and tried to find the fun in it, and then get inspired and say, okay, now that I'm that guy, what am I going to create for that person? And so that's kind of how I try and create it. I try and become that person, so I do enjoy the thing that I'm making, but also try and think like them. And I'll give the smallest example was doing research. So I would design events and features for this Game of Thrones slot machine game. And so we would look at competitive product, because this is how the product managers work. They just want to use what's already out there. And I would look at a lot of games where it's like, okay, you have 10 things to pick, and one of them is going to be the big jackpot prize. And if you don't get the whammy, you can go up to the next level, etc. But very quickly, I'm like, okay, this is programmatically set. I already know as a player that it's not actually which one I pick. They already decided by the 5th time I hit it, I'm going to hit the whammy, right? So then I looked at games and I came up with a concept for a game that's coming out next month, actually, that's kind of like a one-player battleship. So you have shapes in a space, and you're digging in there. And what that immediately tells you as a player is they're not screwing me over unless they're going to making a big effort, because if there's a one section on the bottom left that's 2x3, another one on the side that's 3 straight lines, I know, oh, that shape's got to be there. So now I'm playing a game, right? You're playing Battleship, you're figuring it out. And so I said, okay, as a player, now I know that I'm not getting screwed anymore. So I'm more inspired to play it. And so that's my super long contribution to this conversation, is that I try to find out how can I make things better for that audience.
And I completely appreciate that. Well, I've told this to Eric actually one time before. He and I have had discussions about this one time before, that we're super appreciative of devs who take the time to understand what the gamers would like and enjoy. Whereas me, as a gamer, I completely agree with Ed on that one, on his point that all games are good, because the developers put blood, sweat, tears, and time into making something that they hope the gamer would enjoy. Sure, they might not necessarily succeed every single time, but the effort, the dreams, the hopes, the achievements, the hard work is there. And I completely agree with Ed on that one. And as a player, I do look at every single game and see that dev working those hours and putting in all that effort into that game to try to share it with the gamers. And we do completely appreciate that. I mean, me as a gamer anyway. So yeah, that's my contribution to it. But yeah, next question from Joe.
All right, I got the one here. First of all, you two gentlemen, you've come a long way, right? From your years in Sega back in the 90s all the way right now, all of your accomplishments, all of your achievements, right? How much influence did marketing have over the game design at Sega before? And how does that compare with the marketing as of today? When all of the algorithms, the engagement statistics, and the social media, that can influence development. Let's go with Sir Ed first.
All right. So how did marketing influence back in the day? How did marketing influence our product development? Right.
Correct.
That was a question. Okay. So I guess I really like marketing just happened. Like I really like I knew the people and I showed them the game and maybe I have an idea or something, but it just happened. Like I heard, did somebody say Greg Shimingo?
Yes, Mr. Greg from Sega Soft. Yes.
Yeah. So he managed the cover of Three Dirty Dwarves, and I hate it. When I see it, I rage inside silently. He did that. I didn't even see it until the game was shipping. So a lot of times, and here's the thing, I'm not going to blame marketing for not, because a lot of times they won't even show us things. And also, they were responsible for the manual a lot of times, and they were the ones that leave out people from the credits, not me. Anyway, but the reason why there wasn't a lot of communication there, that's what I'm saying, at least in the early days, is because everybody was going a million miles an hour. But right, Eric, we all loved each other. we were like, so I don't know if it was the Nintendo thing, but we all fell for it. Like there really was a console war, but
There was a console war.
People would. One day I came up to my desk, and my computer was gone, like just simply gone. There was like a wire. And I'm screaming because I had like 6 people I had to talk to, one after the other, and had all this shit going on. I'm like, where the fuck is my computer? And Hugh Bowen, the marketing guy, he was in charge of marketing at the time. He said, I needed it. I had to show Joe Montana something on my computer. So he took it. And I didn't mind. It was like, oh, did it work out with Joe? And it's just that feeling was great, but was not affected by marketing at all, honestly, because marketing kicks in when the game is done.
Yeah, it was so much different. I don't know if you're done.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'll go for it.
So was it similar? So, and we talked about this also before, I believe, was that back in the day when you make a game, the directive would just make it good. Get it out on time. That's it. Because then everything else should fall into place. If they've already greenlit the game and they have the marketing and they have enough consoles out, then they expect they'll make their profits. And so everything's going to work. So they don't care about how can you monetize the most, what other things can we hold back? Don't worry about QA. We can patch it. Like it's really just about making a good, solid game, getting it out, making people like it because you get good reviews, you get word of mouth, people rent it and they end up buying it, etc. And so marketing, my experience is very similar in that they didn't have a lot of power in the say of what we did so far as they just have how they market it. And quite often I was just, making sure they knew, here's all the features, here's the screenshots, you're making a manual. Okay, here's how the game plays. Here's some tips you probably want to include. So they were definitely an add-on where it is much different now. Because I think so much development is about how can we make the most money out of players. Granted, some companies like Larian Studios and whatnot, they don't do that. But big companies tend to want to try and squeeze out every damn penny out of players, whether it be, with the premium edition and the gold edition, the platinum edition and the DLCs, whatever.
Remaster.
Yeah. Well, if it's a good remaster.
Like some guy making an Echo the Dolphin remaster. Anyway. Go ahead.
Marketing is more of an add-on. And to Ed's point, which is what I loved about Sega, even with some rivalries sometimes, everybody really loved to work with each other. And it was such a fun family environment that I will never, ever forget it.
Do you guys feel, because I get the impression that Sega's reputation as alternative Rockstar, more creative leaning of that time was more prominent than other firms you worked at, such as Electronic Arts and that. So is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, we wanted to be more adult. We wanted to look like Nintendo was for little kids, Sega was for men.
Raj got something to say about that one.
Over the years, I used to. So, funnily enough, Sega and Nintendo at that time were pretty par for me. I was always a bit more Sega biased because I was raised in the arcades.
Good man.
But I loved Nintendo. I had a Super Nintendo, Mario World, brilliant stuff. But over the years, I have grown to detest Nintendo. Absolutely detest Nintendo because, number one, the games just haven't held up as well. But there's like a cult mentality, like a mainstream cult mentality, which is I'm playing these games and I'm like, look, this game here I'm playing is just as like Echo the Dolphin is just as wondrous and creative as anything I've played on Super Nintendo, but it doesn't get half the love. It doesn't get anywhere near the love and respect it should do. Look, it's got an amazing soundtrack on the Mega Drive Genesis original, and then you buy it on Sega CD, and it's got another amazing soundtrack. So, how many games? If I can play the same game, but with 2 different soundtracks as well. Not many games offer you that, and Sega don't seem to get the credit they deserve for that. So that's what that's what I always try and do with you chaps, try and put a bit more of a spotlight on that, because I think you chaps deserve it.
Well, we're kindred spirits, you and I.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, especially after thinking now, because I've had right next to me here on this the stream, Kim and Mike and other people who make games, like I think we really actually bought into our own marketing of like being cool and edgy and creative. I think we tried to make games like that, even sometimes without necessarily getting the direction, like that. We just want to make cool, different games that were badass, and it was so cool. And obviously, we could talk forever about Saturn not carrying over any of our Sega of America IP for Saturn, but nonetheless, I think we definitely were what a lot of our players thought we were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely.
One more
But how
question
was
from
it though
me.
making Knockout Kings?
Oh, go.
Oh, I loved. I mean, honestly, like as much as I loved Eternal Champions as the experience, and how proud I am of it, because Knockout Kings is the one game where I was both the producer and lead designer on two of them, and we had an internal development team that I loved, and I was able to take my knowledge of boxing, kickboxing, and put that in there, meet all these cool boxers, direct the motion capture shoot, and then be really successful. Like it did really well, both the versions I worked on. And also it goes back to the experience. We had a community forum and people were just raving about their experiences playing. Oh, I played Rocky Marciano versus Ali, and here's my experience. It was so cool. And that was really what I envisioned the player would hopefully have that experience. And so it was rewarding on many, many levels, as well as EA having the money to market and to get all the boxers and all that stuff. So I just loved working on that game. And I was stupid. I left because I didn't get promoted after 2 successful games. So I left for another company. I'm like, oh, as soon as I left, what did I do? Why did I leave? And so, I was young enough where I made bad decisions, but I probably would have done 1 or 2 before Chicago took it over for Fight Night, which is fine because that was a great game.
We got
Fight Night
another
was
question
amazing.
here.
I got my brother hooked on it.
I love that. Great, man.
I'll go for a job.
Oh. Mark. So he says here he's very appreciative of you guys, of course.
Thank you.
What did it feel like to finally finish and release a game you had spent months or even years developing? And what was it like to tell people, "Ooh, I'm one of the developers of the game," or I'm the developer of the game?
Yeah, let's hear from Ed
people
first.
about that. Yeah.
Wait, what's the question? Sorry.
Well, how does it
How's it
feel
feel
like
to
to
release
have
the game?
released the game
To finally
and
release the game.
after having spent months or
And do you even
years
boast to
developing?
people? "Oh, I made that."
Oh, okay. So I get back in the day. You don't boast to people because nobody played games. It was just kids and all games were purchased at Toys R Us stores. So it's very physical, no internet, very siloed, very few people. So there wasn't this sort of like, hey, I made that, because it was just one little toy in the toy store. But when we finished the game, like you said, after a year or more, and the aggravation of having to go 200 man hours, crash-free man hours before the game releases, you lose a lot of sleep up to the point, right, Eric? I mean, it was like I would wake up in the morning, get in the car, go to Sega, and then 1 o'clock in the morning driving back. It's just there all the time. I bring Hungarians in that slept in the office. We did that secretly.
And that was weird for me because I didn't work with the Hungarians, but I still had them come in and sleep there.
You need a Hungarian on the floor if you're going to work on these games.
Okay, we're getting into the darker side of the experience.
Your acknowledgement of the game's release is in the middle of extreme fatigue. So you're just like, ah. But then with Sega, when you finish the game, it had to go to Japan, get tested again, be manufactured, put on a boat, come across the ocean, and be put on the store shelves. That was months after you finish the game. So then one day it just drops and it's out there, and then you run around. But I remember the event is the magazine. When the magazine came out, and if you're on the cover or there was a full page ad or a write up with high numbers, that was the game's release spiritually for me. But there was a huge delay between releasing the game and seeing the results of it. Today, you upload the game and then you say publish, and then you could watch the players play, and you could see if things are working immediately. The analytics in real time, even knowing where the players are in the world and what time of day they played and how long they played. It's just incredible. It's a completely different existence.
Which brings us to the question: is it better in that respect for you guys now that you can see it in real time and how things go once you release it, rather than back then?
No, it's better in that it's more effective. It's much better done for the medium of games. But it's not nearly as charming as like, oh, I hope they love it. I gotta wait 3 months until it's built and then put on the store shelves. So it's so that's charming and lovely and fun to talk about, but it kind of stopped. It's great to be able to drop a game. Like when a game is live and it's not, day before the game wasn't live and it's live today, all you do is refresh. Google Analytics.
Well,
Sorry.
this is no worries. This is a question that was in the list, but I think is kind of relevant right now. What was the best game idea that you saw rejected, and why was it rejected?
So I have one.
Go for it.
Dimension Raiders.
Oh, someone say something?
Sorry, is it Dimension Raiders?
No, actually, no. In fact, I mean, I was happy to have pitched that, but it might not have done well for a variety of reasons. But the one was, this goes back to pitching something well to your audience and getting them going. And there's other factors out of your control. But essentially, back in the early 90s when UFC 1 came out, me and my buddies, even if you were just a casual fight fan, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is so cool. But it was very much something that was illegal and looked as a blood sport. And some of the politicians were using it for their campaigns to like demonize it. And so when I was working on Knockout Kings, there's a guy named, I believe his name is Glenn Shin. He's director of marketing for EA Sports. And he came by and we're looking at Knockout Kings. Oh yeah, it's looking really good, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, have you guys ever thought of getting the UFC license? Because I think they're confused. And in fact, even come up with like, some notepad versions of like how this could work, which actually ended up being how the game worked when it came out, I believe, on Xbox first. But he said, oh, no, it's too much of a niche sport. It's too violent. I don't think so. Imagine that if I had presented it and I had maybe some backing of other people in the company that had a little more say, maybe we picked it up, right? Because it went, I think, to HQ first, and then I think circled back around to EA like 15 years later or something. So that was where, man, I would have loved to make a UFC game after Knockout Kings and did UFC, but I just casually mentioned it with a couple like, here's why it'd be cool, and it completely failed. So that was one I wish that we had done.
How about Ed? What was the best game idea that you ever saw rejected, and why was it rejected?
Phenomenal question. And I wish I spent more time curating in my head the cool rejects. All right, so the first one I think of is Adam Sevilla. He works for LinkedIn now. You know Adam?
Of course.
Yeah. So he pitched a game where the player was a star. So I don't
Like an
I can't
actual
remember.
star?
It's a star, like the sun.
Okay.
Right.
That's it. it was rejected.
All right, we were waiting. So okay, what?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
okay,
what is
he's
the
a
star
star.
doing?
He's a star. Then what happens?
Yeah, I know. But if you don't get an answer to that question, then you start to be like, well, wait a minute. And it's like, can we hear the rest of the pitch?
Exactly. Yes.
So
Got
that was
nothing.
yeah.
He had nothing.
No,
Just
I mean we can throw something out there. Like the star will have a few bits of matter around it, which will revolve it.
So
Eventually,
you
the life
move
cycle.
the star?
Yeah,
Move
and
around?
eventually it will collapse into itself and to become a black hole. But that's going to be end of life. But yeah, there has to be a game idea to it that the player will be able to enjoy.
Maybe like a platform version where you're a star and you give them like some unique name like Rice Star or something.
Oh, yeah.
because stars are what? They're stationary. I mean,
Yeah.
what else can it do? What does it does? What?
But
Just shine. That's it.
But you do have to
Just
admit
eating up
that
helium and hydrogen. That's it.
but you do have to admit that concepts like that do have a market now in such a diverse and
Oh, yeah,
gigantic
yeah.
gaming industry that we have right now.
Yeah.
Which actually, to your point, Ed, you did say that the comic book industry and the movie industry back then were tremendous compared to video games. Now the video game industry is
No, way bigger.
exponentially bigger than most of these industries that we're talking about, and that's why I'm saying the enigmatic and the cerebral games that you, Ed, and Eric are used to come out with will have a market nowadays, I would say. Yeah.
God willing.
hmm
Yeah.
And which brings me to, Tiny Tank, up your arsenal.
Yes.
Hey,
I was
I
gonna
didn't
bring
think we
that
were
up.
talking
I was
about
gonna-
Tiny.
In there
I
you
was
go.
gonna bring up Tiny Tanks.
Yeah, exactly. So, you worked with on that game for the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Again, which brings which
The writing
goes
was
on
phenomenal.
exactly, the writing was phenomenal, the mechanics were a lot of fun. Do you have a particular fondness for that particular game?
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, all my games, especially like those games, like character games where I know the character, I love like my own children. So I absolutely adore Tiny Tank. And my favorite part of Tiny Tank was the entire team was really into it. It was a very enjoyable development cycle because, like you said, the writing was so solid because we just knew the characters and we knew the world so well that the writing just flowed. Like once you knew Tiny Tank was Bugs Bunny meets the Iron Giant, it just sort of Tiny just took over development. I
A very
remember
apt
there was
comparison,
this
yeah.
one cinematic where I wanted Tiny to be literally sad, like actually get tearful. I love the idea of seeing tears start to form on his cameras. And I pitched it to my team, who was working for me, and everybody, no, Tiny doesn't get sad, like no. And I felt it, like I felt that Tiny was real. That it was real because he would not cry, and it was a glorious moment for me. It's like Tiny was an idea, and then it became real in the world when somebody said that. Tiny doesn't cry.
So even the creator has moments where he cannot execute his idea onto the game world.
All the
That was
time.
case.
All the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But for you, Ed, how was it like, being on the production team for, for X-Men and Spider-Man?
Another dream come true. I grew up with comic books. I was obsessed with Spider-Man when I was a kid. Real quick, Spider-Man was born in New York, 1962. This is real. August. So was Annunziata. August, 1962, New York. So me and Spider-Man were brothers. We're like, and when Spider-Man was on the list, along with Dungeons and Dragons, by the way, when I saw Spider-Man on the list, I could not contain myself. I think I made a very feminine sound, very loud when I saw. And here's how I got lucky right then. Sorry about it. I'm going to force this story on you. At the time,
want to listen.
At the time, on the list, everybody wanted one title to produce one title, and that was Dick Tracy, because Madonna was going to be in the movie. And I was like, Dick Tracy? It's just like, Spider-Man. So I was the only one that wanted Spider-Man. Like all the other, project managers wanted Dick Tracy, and it was Scott Burfield that got it, and he deserved it. But I got Spider-Man, and to work on those games, first of all, when I started with Spider-Man, I tried to play every Spider-Man game that ever existed, and every single one of them sucked. And I got so mad. It's like, did you even read the comic book? It's like animation where he looks like Tarzan. Do you Brits know Tarzan?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You don't swing like that.
You didn't like the Atari Spider-Man?
Atari Spider-Man and the NES Spider-Man comes into mind.
Oh my God. So I feel like I made the first goods. All Spider-Men have been good ever since.
Nice.
Well, anyway, that was my inner child. So all those Marvel games I worked on.
So didn't you do both X-Men game, Ed?
I did. Yes.
Can we talk about? I want to interrupt real quick. So Dan, keep your thought, whatever that question was. Can we recognize how awesome the ending was for X-Men and how you beat it that Ed came up with the reset button?
Yeah, well, it's again in the Sega groups. That's legendary. Because what other game like breaks you? A lot of people talk about, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Metal Gear Solid, when Psycho Mantis makes you switch the controller on the PlayStation 1 to beat.
Yeah.
Well, that was just as big in Sega groups.
Yes.
Because you're pressing the reset button. We're like. The mind fuck of that you're asking me to reset my game that I've got to here were just massive, mate. It were legendary, and it still is today.
And why I want to bring that up too is because I have a specific Ed moment with this. Was I was in QA, I was working on it, and I got towards the end, and you got the timer going down, as I recall, as a countdown timer, because you had the edit pressure. And then I was telling Ed, like, I don't know how to beat it, because he was walking by checking on the game, and he goes, just pay attention to what they're saying here. Right, because it literally tells you what to do, right? But you're not like,
because no one was reading that thing.
You're like no way. This game's hard. I got this far, and then when I finally, I don't know, probably somebody told me, but when I hit it, I was like, oh, wow, that was so cool. That was like, that's one of my biggest moments in gaming was that, and it was so cool that it happened to be with Ed in X-Men. Was such a crazy, and it hadn't been done before, as far as I remember. Right, like because
can you imagine playing that on a Sega Nomad? Like, ain't no reset button on that one.
I know. Sorry about that. Hopefully, not too many people got.
But Ed, how did that idea come to be, though? Like, what made you just come up with that idea to press the reset button?
Originally, all right. So here's the original idea. First, I wanted to break the fourth wall. It was just a creative thing. And the original idea was. The countdown is counting down. Xavier explains there's a virus in the danger room. That's why we're all still stuck in it. So we have to shut down the computer that controls the danger room. So I wanted you to turn the Genesis off and then on, and then it comes up. To the next level. I could do that, and I figured out a way to do it, but they wouldn't give me a 2-cent battery to put on the cartridge.
Right.
So the second idea was pull out the controller.
Reboot, basically.
Pull out the controller. And then I thought that was a good idea because it was like the human disconnects its connection with the computer, causes the virus. That wasn't really good. And it was actually Jeff Fort, who was the designer, not the designer, the head programmer of X-Men 1. He said that when you hit the reset button, where the program counter goes is programmable. There's a pointer for it. And it was like, and then it was like, yeah, you could do that. I thought it was a hardware thing. I thought like on the Atari 800, when you hit the reset button, it literally shorts out the chip and the whole thing resets.
Yeah.
On the Genesis, you hit the reset button. It looks at an address in memory and say, where should I go now that the kid pressed the reset button? So as soon as we figured that out, it was like, we got to do this. And somehow Sega of Japan knew I was working on making that happen. They were like, you should never change that. You cannot. It's like in our TOC document, you cannot change that. So I just ignored it. I'm like, they probably won't check. They probably will not play the game all the way through and then figure out how to hit the reset button.
Yeah. Which they did not.
And something you couldn't do today because the fact that this is an exclusive system, just the Genesis with this hardware and with this interface, whereas like you're saying, I saw Virage say it's a pain on the emulator and all these other things. So a lot of things that make that one feature.
This is why I shouldn't have done it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know that. We didn't know. And I still think it's one of the best things ever in any video game to have done that, especially a game like that.
It's such a shame that things like that aren't. That us, our Sega group, really appreciate it. But that should be like appreciated across gaming as much as Metal Gear Solid and the Psycho Mantis moment. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that Psycho Mantis moment was really good though, and to how it was able to read your memory card and tell you about games that you played and shit too.
I mean, they're real genius moments in gaming. You know what I mean?
But that's the creative mind of Hideo Kojima, man. Like that's why I like the games that he makes. Like
sorry to interrupt, guys. We got a notice from Sega of Japan saying they're gonna sue Sir Ed for ignoring their instructions.
now that they've heard it on live too, that officially. I want to get this question in before anything else. Ed mentioned time travel, so I want this question in there on the record. If each of you could show your 1993 self one modern game, whether it's yours or somebody else's, which game would you choose?
So
like recent game?
Yes, one recent game that has already happened as of right now. If you could time travel back to your 1993
bring that
self,
game back.
Yeah, say
back in time
hey, Ed,
with a game.
Yes, exactly. 1993 Ed, look at this.
Could be any game.
It could be any game. It could be yours. It could be somebody else's. And why?
Well, it ain't gonna be mine.
It's gonna be ours.
For some reason, Silk Song jumps into my head.
Silk Song. Oh, good choice.
Silk Song.
I think Silk Song, not because it's. I just think the younger me, would look like double take at that. Like, would be like, wait, what? Do kids in the future like this game? And I think I would be.
I mean, it kind of looks like a 32-bit game, so it's still within the reach of what 1993.
I would go
standard?
back in time. I would give myself Minecraft.
Oh,
Minecraft.
wow. Okay.
Because I'd be like, what?
It's basically Lego.
Gonna look like
an
Legos,
entire
right?
world. Yeah, an entire world of Lego, basically. Or
Virtual Legos.
I would
take Minecraft back to 89, back to then, and then it would say Minecraft, copyright Ed Annunziata.
Okay.
You're gonna add more than a reset feature.
Reminds you of that movie.
Totally my idea. Ed Annunziata would be in the
reminds you of that idea that movie Yesterday about that guy who goes into a different time and the Beatles
in a world when there were no Beatles
exist.
at all.
Yeah. How about you, Eric? If you got the chance.
Well, so before I forget, just because I told a friend I was going to do this, I want to do a quick plug for a friend.
Sure.
So there's a gentleman named Jesse Spiro, and he actually was a director and writer for my favorite Dungeons & Dragons documentary. It came out, I think, 2004. and I've since kind of got to know him. He also makes some indie games on. Right now, I think it's only on Apple. He has 2 games I'd love for people to check out. He has Snowball in Hell, which is really fun physics-based game, and another one is called Graph Paper Dungeon, which is again physics-based, but also really cool kind of adventure, similar to inspired by games like D&D. If you guys can download it and leave a review, that would be awesome.
Absolutely, sounds good.
Anyway, so now that answers your question. Probably Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And Dan would appreciate this as an RPG guy. Is that any RPGs I ever got a chance to work on, whether it be MMOs or not, where it was always the most rewarding because you get to this narrative portions of it and the integration often of an IP. And but with D&D, what I love was they found a way to craft so many branching kind of storylines of things that affect things that you go, wow, if this one character dies at this part in the game, I miss out on all this stuff that could happen. And so then it opens up other opportunities, as well as the game literally lets you do kind of anything. Like, you want to be a piece of shit, you can do that. And so it really just branches off in these wonderful ways that both the Western and the Japanese RPGs didn't do back in the day. They were exclusively kind of linear experiences with the ability to explore a world, right? That's something, man, imagine how people be like, oh my God, have you played this latest game? It's this RPG like these other ones, but there's so many different possibilities and you can make so many decisions and it's super cool. So probably that one.
Jonas feels personally attacked now because he's our resident JRPG guy. But
hey, those are great games. We've talked about this before, right? About Western versus Japanese. They're all wonderful. I'm just saying that it was completely different than anything on the Western or the Japanese side back then.
All right, excellent. All right, any last few questions for you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to ask Erik after I asked Ed about Spider-Man and X-Men, but how was it, being a designer on Knockout Kings and being a designer for the WWE Crash Hour?
So Crash Hour, I did very little on. I was not a designer on that. This is a THQ owned company. One thing that's interesting that you will find if you are in the industry for a long time, you tend to have a hierarchy within the company where the creatives are in charge, or the product managers are in charge, or the producers are in charge. In this case, the engineers were in charge, which is really interesting. And they had their own kind of way they want to do it. So they kind of designed their games from the engineering standpoint forward. And when I got there, I found out, this is more of me shepherding a game from beginning to end. I really don't have a ton of influence on the game. And so not much on that. Pretty cool, unique concept. I think they probably could have done a better job with it. But in general, that was a pretty unique game. That was cool. Knockout King's totally different. That one was fun because everything I got to touch, everything from the stats of the boxers. What were the stats of the boxers? Interfacing with historians. So Max Kellerman, if you guys know him from ESPN back in the day, he started as a boxing expert. He came to EA and I interviewed him about all the boxers and we kind of ratings. I got these CompuBox numbers from this guy in New York that keeps track of all the punch stats of all the guys. Who, by the way, is a funny aside, just to entertain you. He's very New York and almost like pseudo mob the way he would act. And I forget what it was, but it was some kind of thing where he wanted a certain deal. It's like, oh, you can't do that, but we'll do this for you, but we'll also pay you that when we're done. And he basically threatened me. And he said, cool. He said, but if I don't get my money, I'm going to come to find you. He literally said that to me. Like, okay, that's cool. I guess you know where our headquarters is, but we'll pay you. Don't worry about it. But being able to kind of say, okay, I take these fighting game sensibilities, have combos, know that a jab does this, a jab cross is a good combo. You counter it this way, footwork works like that. The attrition of your endurance over time, round to round, versus your heart, versus your ability to resist cuts or get cut, your ability to work a cut if you create one accident or purposely. Like, all that stuff was so fun. Meeting so many boxers. I met many, many boxers. I went to many fights, got to take Sugar Shane Mosley, if you know that name. I got to take him on a tour and hang out with him for a couple hours and play the game with him. There's so many great memories and working on the first game we did in 8 months, which is crazy.
Wow.
And that's also, by the way, why a game like Eternal Champions, is more of a niche cult game. It didn't have the 2, 3, 4 years that a lot of fighting games did back then, where they would make games and iterate them over and over again, put them in arcades, and then give you a console version. This is like from scratch. So the boxing game, maybe not visually beautiful, but it was PlayStation 1. Those are the ones that I worked on mostly. PlayStation 2 one, as another aside story for you, Juan, is there's an external development team that worked on it, and their engineer was like, okay, cool, I got your design, and it looks really good because you use full-on 3D mapping. We had the boxes show up, and we scan them from all sides. Look beautiful. He wouldn't implement my combo system. And he's like, well, the animations won't look good. I'm like, dude, why didn't you bring this up earlier? We could have found ways to compromise. And so if you get the PS2 version, any combos in there are completely accidental by the way that their hit detection and their reactions work. So the PlayStation 1 of 2000, 2001, very proud of, got great reviews. I still have somewhere, I think I still have my platinum EC discs, not EC, Knockout Kings discs that all the developers would get. We would all get them on the team if it sold 500,000 units. But I loved it. I had such a good experience with it, and thankful it's there.
All right. Now, this is an exclusive to the Timeless Gamer Show. I want this on record. Now that Ed is here, I'm tossing him the question. Echo the Dolphin 3. What are we looking at here?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say this. The title is Echo the Dolphin Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Okay. There we go. All right.
Hopefully
Timeless
that
Gamer
was
Show
Now
exclusive.
I want to make a track for it. Just
There you go.
Oh.
We've got the music. There you go.
But I have another question. This is gonna be for both of you guys. So I mean, as of right now, you guys know, like, you know, when games are released, you know, regardless if they're buggy or not, they can send patches. But when you guys were making games in the 90s, so Eternal Champions, Echo the Dolphin, towards the end of your guys' time frame to get it ready for release, like when you guys came across like bugs, like how did you guys manage that?
Panic.
That would be Eric's purview, though. Eric, you're the QA guy.
Yeah. Well, so what was funny was in QA, if you're just in QA, you love to break the game at the end.
Yeah.
You're like, look what I did. My name is so-and-so, and I work on the team, and I just found this bug no one else found, right?
And Ed is panicking right now.
It's off at you. Like,
What bug?
The opposite effect you want to have. You want to, rather, if I was smart, if I found a game-breaking
And it's
bug,
close to release day.
I would, yeah, exactly. It's close to release day. I go over to the producer and say, hey, I found this bug, but I didn't see it. We're friends, right? We're good.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I think one way it did affect the game is that whenever you added new features and made a change, you realize, oh, we have to go through a new test cycle. And so that did affect your schedule. So you had to decide whether or not you're going to make that change, because now you have to go through a new cycle. And then therefore now the game's not going to be ready for another 24 hours or something, right? And in QA though, so I joke about always wanting to, but when I was working on site in a Eternal Champions CD, when I was the QA guy mostly, my buddy Harry Chavez and we were working just insane hours. I would be literally dead if I tried it now. So it was just crazy hours. And we would get back at like 10:30 at night or something from QA. Then we would get a call at 1 a.m. that one of the QA guys, because we were on like a 24-hour kind of at that point testing, and they found a crash bug. And we just go, oh no, we have to go back in and try and verify the bug's fixed on site at like 2 a.m. And so it was crazy. The upside was that we all know how you have solid games. Like most of the time you had a game that was as good as it could be, and it was as clean as it could be. And you didn't have like, well, it's a beta, but we'll fix it later. You guys find some bugs. Can you put it on our forum and let us know if you find bugs? Like that's such bullshit. I hate that.
Although, Ed distilled it into one word, panic. Did it really affect you to the point that you would lay awake at night for situations like that, Ed?
Well, yeah, you were always awake at night because there were no nights on the last push. I'd usually have the team, the dev team in the building, so that when somebody crashes it in the middle of the night, I could wake them up and they could fix it, and then we could hit the ground running immediately. If Erik wandered into my office with that look on his face that I recognized, it's like a half a smile and a half sympathy kind of. I would, it would be like, my first thing would be, tell me what it was, show me, and do it again. You have to do it again. If you could repeat the bug, we could
replicate it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and if you didn't have to, like there are some bugs where it's like only one tester would, do a move and all of a sudden freeze. And I'm like, how did you do that? And we study the, rewind the VCR, go back and forth, and it's like the dolphin just stops. And then do it again. It's working fine. And then stop, crashes. And until we repeated it, and, in this particular instance, it was actually the D-pad was used so much that it wore down and that a possible left-right input simultaneous, which is impossible on the D-pad. But now that little rocker plastic thing wore down, it's possible to get a left-right at the same time. And the programmers never considered that. So the program just fell through and the game crashed. So it was actually the controller that was a panic because we didn't even know what caused the bug. The programmers were like, there's no way this crashes here. You're lying. And that's what it was. It wasn't the tester. It was the tester's device.
Controller, right.
That's interesting.
Hardware issue.
Always blame the controller. Hashtag.
I literally made a controller.
Blame the controller for everything, right?
I made a controller with all 4 buttons down, for the directional control.
Which game is that, though?
Soldered down so that I could just plug it in to see. You just plug it into the game while the game is running. If the game crashed, that means the programmers did the
smart
joystick
man,
polling.
Smart man.
But what game was it?
It was Echo the Dolphin. I think it was the first. I don't know which Echo. That bug that I just described.
All right.
It's literally not a bug.
Sir Dan.
It's almost a hardware bug.
Sorry. My question to both chats was just going to be, as gamers, not developers, what are your top 3 games, or whatever you want to give us? Just wondered.
Well, man, you took my question, Danger Dan.
Hey, great minds think alike. What can I say? Yeah. Ed, you go first.
What's that? What's my favorite games?
Top
3
3
games?
absolute most favorite games of all time.
All time.
In no particular
Echo 1,
order.
Echo 2, and the new Echo 3.
The upcoming Echo 3.
The hypothetical Echo 3 that I played.
There you go.
Search for Atlantis.
Yes, 3 games.
Well, right now I've fallen. I don't want to say this is a top 3 of all time, but right now the game that I'm loving personally is Warframe. Have you ever heard of this game?
Yeah.
Man, I can't even believe how good that game is, and it's a free to play game too. I would say Warframe. Definitely Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, good one.
And Minecraft.
Well, Minecraft. There you
A
go.
big Minecraft.
Okay, just what Ed's Minecraft obsession right now. We're gonna have to make a server where we can all just kind of get in and just play.
I would love
Let's
that.
do it. Well, let's do it. How about Erik? Let's hear what Erik's top 3 of all time is.
It's so tough, and I'm going to kind of try and put them in context of when I played them and how I felt about them, how obsessed I was. So the first one's going to be Street Fighter 2 for the arcades.
Oh my God,
that was just the best. The best experience ever. I will also re-mention Baldur's Gate 3. Just the pure variety of it, and the fact that it's also D&D that, of course, I love. And the other one is going to be a little more obscure that I've discovered years after it came out. It's called Battle Brothers.
Battle Brothers, brilliant game. Yeah,
it's one of the most fantastic low fantasy simulation of small group combat that I've ever played. That's brutally hard, which makes you just try and eke out every bit of strategy and tactics as you can to succeed. So those would be the three that stand out. But man, obviously, I was also going to mention The Walking Dead, the first Telltale game that had a heartbreaking ending, or also Red Dead Redemption, which has also a heartbreaking ending, but it's a great game too. There's so many, but I'll stick with the first three I mentioned. But there's so many great games. Obviously, I love being a gamer. We're lucky is with all the stuff that's out right now with microtransactions and other things that are not great. There's still so many great games to play. Whether it be older.
Well, actually, now we have a contentious statement here from Viraj in the chats. Echo 3 is Defender of the Future on Dreamcast. No, Viraj, no. The creator of Echo is here. He says the only official ones are 1, 2, and the upcoming 3. So no.
Is the Dreamcast what even canon?
It's supposed to be a reboot or something of the sort. But yeah, Ed, would you
It's
say
not
that's
canon. It's not
See,
canon.
there you go.
Oh, see?
That's the creator saying
not canon, then
Echo-
scrap
Defender of the Future. You were talking
Clip it, Joe,
we're talking to
clip
the
it.
creator here. So Viraj, your opinion is absolutely invalid. Get out of here. Anyway, so
So,
Sorry, dude.
but I mean, but talking to like Red Dead Redemption, what Ed was talking about, like the first one was my favorite. I
Yeah.
put so many hours into it, and this was coming to the end of the PS3's life cycle, and it completely fried my PS3. Like literally. So
yes, but I'm
Yellow-
my story
yellow-
for Red Dead
yellow light of
Redemption,
death.
Yellow Light of Death, and I played that game so much to where I fixed the yellow light of death 3 times, and then trying to fix it a 4th time, my PS3 was done.
That defibrillator didn't work.
No.
All right.
And then
so,
the 4th time, I couldn't connect to to Wi-Fi. My Bluetooth didn't work. Nothing. It literally
So,
just toasted it.
PS4.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I have to go teach class now. So
so I think it's time to wrap this up. All right, Joe,
Yeah.
take us home.
Alrighty. All right. There was this one question I have, but I can probably leave it to Sir Ed maybe later. All right. That's it, guys. Thank you all so much for having us. Let's go with our shameless plugs. Let's start off with Sir Erik because he's about to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'll just
Where
mention again, my buddy Jesse Sparrow. He made some indie games, physics-based games. He loves puzzle games and platformers. He has 2 games that I'd love for you guys to download and comment, review on. He has Snowball in Hell, which is a great name and a great game, and then Graph Paper Dungeon. So check those out. That's my plug. I'm just plugging somebody else.
Awesome.
All right.
Good
Thank
man.
you for that, Sir Erik. And how about Sir Ed? Where can they touch your grass?
What are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Do your final
Where-
plug.
where can they find you?
Yeah,
Where
where
can they
can
find
they
you?
find you, and what can they look forward to?
Okay, I'm here in Northern California. It's just south of San Francisco. There's a really nice coffee shop nearby. It's called Sage Bakehouse. So you guys could see me there. And on
Sir
Twitter,
Viraj,
at Annunziata.
Sir Viraj has another message for you. Personally, it's a personal attack to you. Echo 3 was released and the IP is owned by Sega, so sadly he may be the creator of the original, but this is a 3rd game.
No. For one, if I were to interject the one adult word here in this entire episode, bullshit. Okay. Anyway, right.
Thank you.
All
Yeah,
right, Joe.
he keeps on insisting on it. How about Sir Dan?
Yeah, come and join us in the Sega Genesis group. We are hoping to have the Sega Mega Masters show coming back sometime soon. We would love to have Sir Erik back and love to have Sir Ed on it at some point if they're available again.
Absolutely.
And keep tuning in to Timeless Gamer.
Excellent.
All right, thank you for that, Sir Dan. And how about Sir Juan?
Well, you guys can find me here with the TGS crew every week.
Are you
Keeping
going
it
to
short.
do an Atlantis tune?
I'm down. We can talk about
You
it
can do a little
outside, and you
sketch.
just tell me
You
what
can
you
do a
want.
little
Yeah,
sketch.
yeah, we can talk
That's-
about it outside. I got
That's
you.
Ed directly asking you, Juan. Okay, so that's the
No, it's an
creator
honor.
of the dolphin. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right.
All right.
And how about Sir Joel?
All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to this very, very special episode of the Timeless Gamer Show podcast with Ed and Eric. You guys here in the audience make this show extremely special, and we couldn't possibly do it without you. So, thank you so much to everybody here, not just the audience, but also the panelists Ed, Eric, Juan, Dan, Joe, everybody. We are very, very happy to be here with such exceptional people. So you can always find me, almost always find me here on the Timeless Gamers Show podcast, unless real life gets in the way. And we look forward to seeing you in every single episode going forward. Back to you, Joe.
All right, thank you for that, everyone. And that's the show, guys. Thank you all so much once again. And on behalf of the rest of the crew, our games and our bodies may grow out of date, but our gaming experiences will forever remain.
Timeless.
Timeless.
Excellent.
There you go.
All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of the
Right, gentlemen.
weekend. All right, see you
Good
guys
night.
soon. Bye.